Hey everyone. So today we're going to be looking at our Unit 2 Lesson 4, and one of our focuses here is problem solving with something known as the triangle angle sum theorem, right? And so the idea is pretty simple that the three angles in a triangle all must, the internal angles, that they all must add up to make 180 degrees, right? So whatever they tell you, whatever the angles they give you or don't give you, they all have to add up to 180, right? So one of the benefits here is that they can, no matter how they decide to give it to us, that's locked in. It's a fact. So if we're ever missing an angle, like in this problem here, right, we're missing angle T, we can find it. So a lot of times what you'll see is instead of, a blank spot, they may say, well, this is the value of X or W or some other variable. It doesn't really matter. But what we do know is that all three numbers have to add to make 180. So that's an equation. So we could say 27 plus 82 plus X is equal to 180. Right? And so from here, we just use our equation solving skills and to move forward. So 27 and 82 on this side, we can combine that to make 109. Right? Those go together. We still have our X, still have our 180. Right? And then now it's just like a one-step equation. Right? We can subtract 109 from both sides. And this is going to cancel. We'll have X is equal to 71. All right, so that's the missing angle. Right? If we add 71 and 27 and 82, that'll all add to make 180. So sometimes we'll have questions where there's other information, like we may not see that they're telling us that we have two angles. If you see a right triangle like this, where we have the square that indicates that the two lines meet perpendicularly, right? That also means, again, that's a right angle. This means 90, right? So we automatically know that, okay? So this means that if anything's left over, it's just like the last problem, right? We could say, again, X plus 90 plus 41 is equal to 180, right? There's another way to look at this too, but again, with this to be consistent, let's keep it here. So we can add these together, right? 90 and 41 should make 131, makes 180. We can subtract the 131 from both sides. And we're going to get X is equal to 49. Right? That's what's left over. Now, there's another thing that we can also consider, right? Because we know that this angle is 90, right? And that's just true for every right triangle. The angles that are left over have to add up to 90, right? Because if your sum is 180, then and you take 90 away for every right triangle, we could have just jumped to X plus 41 is equal to 90, right? We could have jumped straight to that. That's another method. It's a little quicker, but it only works for right triangles. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you like shortcuts, again, if you recognize the right angle, you know that these two angles, the two angles that are left, are going to be complements, meaning they had to make 90. So that can save you some time. There's other times where they can also imply information that may not seem obvious. This is an isosceles triangle. Isosceles means that it has two equal sides, exactly. Not three, but just two. What that means, what that also implies is that the angles opposite those sides. So if you think of an angle, I always think of an angle like screaming out to a side. Kind of my thought that those angles need to be the same. So if we were to label them, we could call them X and X. Okay, right? Like because we know they're the same, we can give them the same unknown. So you could say, well, X plus 40 equals 180. Now, if you did the sum in your head, if you were just like, oh, well, X plus X makes 2X, you could have maybe jumped to that, right? But anyway, you'd still end up with a similar equation that says 2X plus 40 is equal to 180. So to solve for x, we're going to get rid of our constant. We're going to subtract 40 from both sides. We're going to get 2x cancels equals 140. And then we can divide both sides by 2 and get x is equal to 70. So if you need to use a calculator for parts of this is totally fine, right? But again, the concept so far, and it holds through all these problems, is that all of these angles have to add to make 180. So that's the equation that you're trying to build, right? This plus this equals this, right? Once we build that, then we use our algebra skills. So we can see, a bit of a messy one, right? Remember, the concept is still the same, regardless of how complicated we make an angle measures expression, right? 2x plus 1 is an expression, right? We don't know what that angle measure is until we know what x is, right? Well, we can't find x until we use our triangle sum here. Right? Because they're telling us information about all three angles, we could put it together. So again, you could do two different methods. You could, and again, solving them will work the same way, right? But I could say, well, 2x plus 1 plus 5x plus 5 plus 90 is equal to 180, right? You could do that. But because it's a right angle, you could also just skip to this and kind of see, well, this is just 2x plus 1 plus 5x plus 5 is equal to 90, right? I know that that's going to be true because, again, this is a right triangle. Those two angles have to add to make 90. Again, if you don't see that, you'll still get to that place. It just may be a little slower. I'm going to combine my like terms. So I've got 2x and 5x. They add together to make 7x. Again, this is something you got to do if you've got multiple pieces of multiple x's or multiple variables or multiple constants on the same side. I also have a positive 1 and a positive 5. So together those make a positive 6. And that equals 90. So now we just go through and solve this out. We're going to subtract 6 from both sides. We're going to get 7x that cancels, is equal to 84. And thankfully, both of these are divisible by 7. We're going to get 7x over 7 is x. 84 over 7 is 12, right? So be careful in some of these cases when we have some of these trickier questions, because they might ask you for a particular angle, right? And in this case, we would have to plug them back in, right? So if we plugged back x equals 12 in for these angles, it'll give us what they actually are. So I'm going to write these in. Well, let me use red. All right. So 2x plus 1, if x is 12, this would be 25 degrees. Okay. So again, that's 2 12s plus 1. 5 12s plus 5 should be 65. Right? So 25 and 65, that makes sense. Those are supplements or complements, excuse me. Those they add to make 90. So again, just be careful, right? If the problem asks for x equals, that's one thing. If the problem asks for a particular angle, you might have to go back and plug it in. And then what if there's all three angles? What if we don't know, right? We still approach the problem the same way. It's just going to be, there's less likelihood for a shortcut. I know we all love our shortcuts. But if we see all these three angles, we just need to add them together, right? So we're going to say 7x minus 1, 7x plus 8, and 5x plus 2. Okay? This all equals 180, right? All of these together add to make 180. So that's a big old equation, but again, it's just like the other ones. We're just going to combine like terms. 7x, 7x, and 5x make 19x together. Negative 1, 8, that makes 7, plus 2 makes 9. And that equals 180. All right, so now it's just a two-stepper. Right, we're going to get 19 Oh, sorry, skipping steps here. We're going to subtract the 9 from both sides. So we get 19x is going to equal, again, that cancels. This is 171. Right, 171. And this might be a little trickier, right? But again, like we see, 171 is kind of close to 190. And in fact, it's actually 19 less than that. So you could probably see where this division is going. It's 1 less than 10 times 19. So if we divide both sides by 19, we're going to get x to equal 171 over 19, which should be 9. Right? And so again, we could go back and plug this x equals 9 in to the top. Right? So if this is 9, let me go back and let me switch my color here. So if x is 9, 7x minus 1 should be 62 degrees. Again, 7 times 9 minus 1. 7x plus 8 should be 63 plus 8, so that is 71 degrees. And then 5x plus 2 would be 45 plus 2, which is 47. Right? You get 47 there. So the triangle angle sum means all three angles in a triangle must add to make 180. Again, this could be as simple as us just needing to find a number, right? Or it could be as complicated as our last problem, which I zoomed past, where all three angles have a variable-based expression, and we have to use algebra in order to solve for x, and then eventually go back and plug our stuff in.